super excited to be back with a new show from you guys by Hosteeva. And lately, we've just been talking about what kind of tips we want to bring to people, and it didn't feel like a webinar was the right term, right? So we're here, we're a monthly show, 15 minutes, pulse on the market. What's going on? What are we seeing? What are we thinking as large operators? And any questions that we get from the market, we want to hear from you. So welcome. My name is Talia Lockard, Director of Sales and Marketing at Hosteeva. I'm joined by Chris Curry, who is our VP of Revenue Management, Head of Revenue Management. I don't know, titles at Hosteeva, we just, whatever they are. You're good at what you do and you do it. And we're here with Behind the Book, right? So we're in vacation rentals, short-term rentals. We're getting booking. That is the goal of what we are trying to do every day. But getting a booking is just such a small part of the whole process, right? Like that's the end goal. The end goal is the booking. What happens before the booking? So now that we're here, we might as well get started in what's happening right now, Chris. Well, I mean, we are in May. We are about in the US a month out before kids are out of school in some areas. We have weather going crazy. We got the World Cup in the US. We have festivals going on. What does it look like?
Yeah, so it's looking good, and there's a lot of noise too, right? Gas prices and all the economic dysfunction that we have right now. And
Spirit
the good,
Airline closed their doors
yes,
yesterday.
Spirit
I
Airline. I hear
mean,
I heard a rumor that Elon Musk is buying Spirit Airline now. But all of this does affect travel. However, when you start looking at the summer markets, right, like the beach markets, and everybody who's traveling for summertime into those beach areas, um, we're not seeing a lot of difference from the occupancy side and the ADR side. Now, we're not seeing a lot of growth either, right? It's pretty much status quo from what we saw in 2025. The only difference is, and this is something that we should all touch on, is the difference in special events, right? As Talia said, you got the World Cup coming to Miami, Atlanta, Seattle, Chicago, New York,
Houston.
Houston, like you got the World Cup that's going to bring a lot of really good business into a lot of these markets. So that's really exciting to have. But it's also, like I said, the big piece is understanding. Like for instance, like the Orange Beach and Gulf Shores market, you're losing Hangover Fest in the month of May. You're going to get the occupancy. You might not get the rate that you're looking for, right? You're not going to get those $600 rates. But also what we see a lot more of is you're seeing a lot more families booking the bigger units, right? People are booking those 3 and 4 bedroom units because they're combining with other families to save some money, right? So all in all, we're looking at basically, to recap it, we're seeing the same occupancies, slight dip in ADR, but nothing crazy, right? So just get excited for all those markets that you got the luck of the draw. I'm from New Orleans. Nobody wants to play soccer in the middle of summer in New Orleans, so we did not get that. We had to live golf that just canceled because of funding, because of political stuff. But the big piece is just paying attention to your special events, right? Like remember, like, Super Bowl is not in every city every year. Like it doesn't have the same city. The draft doesn't have that. So just
That is
understand
the best example. I'm going to pick on myself for the Super Bowl real quick, right? I happened to look at some numbers and was doing some forecasting, and I called Chris and I'm like, just like, why it doesn't things don't they're not aligning year over year. He's like, tell you, the Super Bowl was in New Orleans last year. I was like, oh my God. So even myself as a leader, like understanding your year over year numbers and what are you comparing to? Like what happened in your market last year? And we always talk about this, right? Like we have to compare year over year. We're not a month over month business. We're a year over year business, but no 2 years look alike, right? And that's been the case with or without COVID. But that's a big thing now, especially with events going on. So, Chris, is there some kind of advice you would give people? I mean, especially we're in New Orleans, right? So we always plan for Mardi Gras. 1 year Mardi Gras was canceled, right? We don't always plan for Super Bowl, but there are a lot of events that come and they leave New Orleans, right?
Mhm.
So how do you prepare for an event when you don't have numbers to base off of what happened last
Honestly, the good thing is that like for instance, with a Mardi Gras, right? You have enough history to see how Mardi Gras produced. So it might not be like 2025 that we look at, right? We might have to look at 2023 and say, hey, what do we do when Mardi Gras was the same dates? And it might just be looking at a different year, right? And then understanding, like, Mardi Gras, like for instance, in New Orleans, I know we have a lot of our units in New Orleans, so that's why we kind of harp on this. But, um, not everybody gets off from Mardi Gras, right? However, when Mardi Gras falls on like a President's Day, everybody's off on President's Day. So people will make that extra, take that extra day, right? And that's
I
where
didn't
we
even
kind of
think about
see,
that.
yeah. And when you look at special events, right, especially like a Mardi Gras or a Hangout Fest or the Country Music Fest in Myrtle Beach, right? You're gonna make the money on the days of the events. The key is to make the money on the shoulder nights, the nights that are outside of it. So if you have events that are coming in on our Friday and Saturday, yes, you're gonna book those. You're absolutely gonna book it. However, you're looking for an extension. You're looking for the outside dates of those events to fill, right? You don't want to get a 2 night stay. You want a 4 night stay. So
You
that
want
might be
the shoulder season of the event, right? You want the
right, right.
shoulder
Like
days.
yeah, and listen, short-term rentals, hotels are all the same way. You're gonna get your fair share on those event dates. The way you beat the market is getting the shoulder nights, right? And getting those Sunday stays, those Monday stays, those Thursday stays, right? And the way to do that is, don't be afraid to go a little bit below, rates on those shoulder nights, as well as don't be afraid to kind of hold on minimum length of stays, right? If you have a two night event,
Mm-hmm.
a 2 day event, go with put a 3 night minimum on those 2 days. And the big piece is trying to fill those shoulder nights. That's how you can optimize your revenue over special events, right? It's not those
How
days
do
you're
you
going to make
find
money.
how do you find these days that like how long in advance are like should you be really looking at your special events? Like are people
Oh,
booking those?
as soon as you open them up, as soon as you open those special events up, you want to make sure that you're looking at it at least once a month, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
for instance, depending on how we normally run on like depending on the market, we run like between a 12-month cycle and an 18-month cycle of keeping our system open, right? So like as soon as Mardi Gras rolls in, we are reviewing Mardi Gras
Mm-hmm.
dates once a month, right? We want to see how much we're occupied because you know, it's kind of like when you're selling a house, right? And you put a rate, you put a value, you put your price out on your house, and then like a day later somebody buys it. Well, for me, right? I'm not happy about that because it was on the market for
You
one
priced
day.
way too
Somebody
low.
somebody booked it like that. Like I'm saying, wait a second, like I could have pushed that up like 50, $60,000 to just see if the market's out there, right? So like you want to see like if you just have one unit, right? You want to put it at the highest price you possibly can because you're gonna book it 60 days out, 30 days out, right? And that's why you need to understand when your average booking window is in your market so that you can look at it and say, hey, look, I got World Cup coming. Normally book 30 days out in Miami, right? So do I have to lower my prices? I'm not freaking out because I'm 60 days out from an event. I'm not going to start lowering my prices until I kind of get into that 30-day where most of the people are looking for those rows, right? Um, and then also if it's sporting events, make sure you understand the teams that are coming in, right?
Yep.
For
Where are they
instance,
coming from?
right. For instance, once again, like you look at a Sugar Bowl, right? If it's not a playoff game and you got Alabama coming in who normally goes to a playoff game, guess what? They're not traveling for a regular a Sugar Bowl event, right? So like you need to understand, like, you know, one, like how big, like, you just need to understand the teams that are coming in with alumni associations. How far of a drive is it to you? How often do they go to bowl games and what their statue is, like their reputation, right? And that's you can put your pricing in for that as well. So
I think it's great advice, right? And I spoke with like a single family host, a single unit host recently, and he called in to come and chat with us, and he's like, I really messed up. He was like, I put my listing on last month, and I didn't even think about events. And I think he had it open for 2 years, and his next two July 4th were booked at like $60, right? Because he didn't even think about going put in minimum night rates or something like that. So I'll implore anyone, large property managers in most cases, right there, before they're onboarding something, they're looking at all the events, they're putting it on, they're checking to make sure that we have minimum night rates and minimum night stays for that time so that, yes, the data can be pulled. We are going based on supply and demand in the market, but there's parameters that we can stay within, right? And I think that's very important. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I am a large property manager or I'm a single host and I don't know how to do this, what you guys are telling me sounds like crazy. I'm going to tell you one easy thing. Open your chat GPT right now. This is the address of my property. What are the big events in the area that are coming up? Which ones bring more travel to my location? Sugar Bowl. Who's playing in the Sugar Bowl this year? Do their fans typically travel with them? Right? Ask the questions and let it, I know AI, whatever buzzword, but let it help you in this instance, right? I've talked to many people this weekend that like mentioned, like, I use GPT, but not in the right, like not to the level you're telling me. Just ask the questions and let it help you, right? Before you start doing all this research on your own.
Now, and another thing that's coming up in May is the football schedule, right? The NFL football schedule release, right?
Oh, forgot
This
the
is
draft
a
just
perfect
happened.
opportunity, right? Like, I mean, look, primetime games, like, Seattle Seahawks guys, you just won the Super Bowl. You're going to get primetime games. So making sure that you're paying attention to these schedules and, the dates, the changes in the dates, right? You might have had
Hmm.
a Sunday game, home game one this week, last year. It might be a Thursday night primetime game this year, right? This all brings demand, right? So listen, it's not just like, oh, let's set it and forget it, guys. Like, if you want to optimize your revenue, you need to understand what's in your market, what drives your market. And then, like I said, teams, NFL teams, not every team's going to bring people in. However, if it's a rival and, if it's the Rams going to Seattle, you're going to have people travel, right? So you, like I said, just understanding, the demand generators in your market and just staying on top of it, will really help you, like, just optimize the revenue that you can get, for your units, right? So,
Agreed, agreed. Yes, just understand what's going on. Like sporting events, everything's there. Slow down, take a second, make sure that you just make sure that you have dialed into the market and understanding what's going on. And like I feel like we can say this so we're blue in the face, right? It will never be set it and forget it. Like that's not the world that we live in. Hotels aren't set it and forget it. Airlines aren't set it and forget it, right? Vacation rentals and independent hotels really are not going to be the option there, right? So wanted to kind of end this with a little game. So very excited that we're gonna keep you guys up what's going on, give you some tips, bring on some new people so that we can get all this advice in the industry. All right, so we're gonna play a game called This or That. We're just going to do it really quickly here. I didn't even prepare a slide. So I'm just typing in New Orleans. That's all I'm doing. I didn't do much. I'm not adding dates. I'm not adding guests on here. Right. But I probably should add a little bit more in here. But let's just look at the top four in here. Right. What would you click on first and why?
and so even though New Orleans is a small city, right? New Orleans has a lot of different areas, right? You have the French Quarter, you have Uptown, you have the business district, you have, Metairie, which isn't really in New Orleans, but it's like kind of thought of as New Orleans, right?
A hop, skip, and a jump from New Orleans.
Right, right. So, like, whenever, like, when I'm booking, I always I don't put a city in, I put in where I want to be. So, like, for instance, say I want to go to a Saints game, I'm going to put in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome or the Caesar Superdome. I'm sorry, they just changed the name and I forgot, but
Oh, yep. They're doing Atlanta. We can't look at Falcons and Saints.
right, right. So, like, if you put in like Caesar Superdome and you want to look at, I don't know, I guess the season's going to start in October. Let's look at it that way.
Let's go like this.
Yeah. So what it's going to do is it's going to tell me, it's going to put me in a location that's like closer to where I want to be, right? Like if I want to be walking distance, I can now look at where the pinpoint is and say, okay, I'm this close to the Superdome. And then I'm kind of looking at the amenities that I want, right? Like I'm coming in October. It's New Orleans, so I might be able to swim. Maybe I want a pool, right? So let's see, like I see that picture always, like I feel like pools during the summertime, as your first picture is always a big deal. So like that's what I'm looking at first, right? I'm also looking at like how many people that I want. It might just be me and my wife. So we're gonna look at like, units that are in like 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom units, right? So um let's see. So I'm sorry, I'm looking at a
Two
really
bedroom.
small screen. Let's see. All right, I'm good.
Sorry.
I'm good. It's okay. It's my fault. So, I mean, look, I'll look at it like the first one, the guest favorite right there, looks okay. I don't like the colors, so I'm not really into that. Plus, the price is like pretty expensive. What I see a hotel room in Central City. Let's look at that. That one's pretty close to the Superdome, $700. Um, that looks like Maison Dupuy.
And I also was going to point out, I really like how it's like hotel room condo because it then helps you
Yeah,
decide now, like,
yeah,
what do I want? Because some people,
right.
for sometimes hotels better than a single family home. You just have to make
Mhm.
those decisions.
You see now, I like this one, the Live a Day Chalet, right? Like I like the look of that one, right? Like that looks pretty cool. Like
Hmm.
it's got a nice little couch living area. Let's look at those, like a 4.93 review. That's not too bad. So like that,
This
and
one,
it's honestly like $1,100 for a 5 night stay. That's
yeah,
200
price of.
a night. Makes sense to me, right? Now the only problem is it's a little distance, right? Like that's not walking distance to
Hmm.
but like that's one that I like the view of it. Fairly new updates. Looks clean. So that would be one I would look into. Um, However, like I said, it's a little bit further away than I want to be. So like I would
Hmm.
probably like want to look at like, yeah, like what's that one? Click on that one that you were just on.
This one, the
No, no,
seven to
no.
four
Go
one.
to the right where it says 1737. No, close that out. Zoom in a little bit. All right, there's
This is a
one.
Bourbon
Yeah.
Street condo.
Yeah. So let's see. Go up, scroll up a little bit. It normally doesn't take me this long to book either, guys. I'm not. There's
We're
one
trying
bubble.
to.
There's one bubble behind this. That's the one I want to see. Click on that one. Yeah. So
981,
a
5 nights,
thousand
four point
dollars,
nine three.
1 bedroom, one king. Like that would probably be
Pictures
the
are
one I would go.
nice.
Yeah. That would be the one I would go for right there. It's
I
in the
love
French
that.
Quarter. It's close to the Superdome. Fresh pictures. That would be it. And like I said, I do look at reviews a little bit. I don't expect everybody at fives, but if it's in that four range, then I would book it. So
I love that. And thank you for playing the game with me. And I tell people this all the time. So I worked at Burbo a long time ago when I worked with homeowners all the time. And homeowners would call in and my property is not getting booked. It's not getting seen. And I would say, would you like to play a game? Let's get on a Zoom and I'm going to share my screen. I go to their location. I do exactly this. And 9 times out of 10, they did not choose their property if they were
Mhm.
upset, right? So just
Right.
a good visual of how does your property look compared to everyone else in the market? And we all say, hey, these two properties aren't the same. They're not to you, but to the traveler, they are looking at location. What are the easiest things for them to see that they could click on? Right. Then they're going to click on it. And I showed you great thing. Look, I opened these two listings and then I would go back and look at them. Right. But it's
Mhm.
going to come to a lot of things that traveler needs to compare. Right. So I implore everyone, let that be part of your quality assurance. Right. Like onboard it, have someone from your team go look at it compared to everything else of what is being seen in the market. And also ask different ages and demographics. You know, you have an intern on your team who's like 16 to 22, ask them to look, right? Then ask somebody, a mother like myself. I'm 37 of two kids. You, me and my husband travel, and we work a lot while we travel, right? So there's things that we need in there. Then ask your parents, my parents. My mom would want something different, right? Than
Mhm.
I'm going to want. So it's always good, but really appreciate that. Is there
Yeah, and
anything
one
you
more
want to
thing on
leave
that, Talia,
everyone with?
too, is like don't be afraid. Like like, all right, for instance, if you're on like, if you're on a beach, the first picture should be the picture of the beach, right? People are booking because of your views. People are booking because of the amenities that you have. So don't be afraid to start with your amenities, If you're in a snow, like if you're in a snow region, put the fire pit out there, put the hot tub out there, like put those amenities out there because
Yes.
that's what people are looking for, right?
Put your biggest amenities out there, like what they could envision themselves, what they want to see, right? What they want to see where they're going to be when they're in your spot.
Yeah, you want to put in there what like which if you think it's a value driver, you need to show the picture of it. Now I'm also going to say do not have pictures with people in it. That when you're on the listings, you shouldn't have people. Now if you're doing any kind of social media and stuff like that, absolutely show like live pictures with people in it. However, you don't want to show like you just don't want to have humans in your pictures, dogs
Mm-hmm.
either. You just want pictures of the amenities clean as they are, right? But the
That's a
key is like
great advice. You hear that all the time.
yeah, but if you want to, yeah, right, but if you want to, like, you want to put your best foot forward, and if your amenities, if you feel the value drivers, then those should be your best foot forward, right? And anything that you think is going to sell your unit, that's what needs to be your first pictures. Everybody's got beds. Everyone's got beds. Everybody's got
Everybody's
kitchens, right?
got beds.
So I mean, like people see that all the time. Everybody's got the big TVs. TVs are cheap now. Like, okay, so that it's the what's going to set you apart from the units around you. So
It's the experience, right? And I would say that this, not even just in vacation rentals. I think in general, the theme of things, people are going more away from materialistic and more to experiences. How will this experience make them feel? You need to make the photo make them feel that way whenever they look at it. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for joining and for, giving our, crowd some tips on what they can be doing to prepare. As always, if you're listening and you're like, Chris and Talia, you just blew my mind. I need to know some more stuff. Can you help me? Call us, right? Email us. So we want to chat with you. And if you're just joining us for the first time, thank you for joining at Hosteeva. We are hospitality tech that help real estate developers, property managers, independent hotels build a great revenue generating ecosystem specifically around short-term rentals and hospitality. Thanks everyone and have a good day. All right.